Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Thucydides Peloponnesian War. Today we're going to be doing the winter of the fourth year. Our last time we ended in chapter 19. We read chapter 19 a little bit. We're going to go back over it again, which deals with the aftermath of this of of of, of, of the Metelian lesbian revolt against Athens. And Sparta's assist. Well, the Spartans kind of thinking invasion that kind of it didn't work. The Spartan invasion of the second invasion, that thing, a major push to kind of force them. And what happened was the Athenians put their citizen fleet out, shocked the Spartans who didn't have their allies with them, and they retreated back. That while at the same time Athens and this 100-ship fleet were raiding the coast there, and having they were shocked by the size of the Athenian the sheer size of the Athenian fleet that went out to meet them. They thought they would have to come back like this, and they would have advantage, but they didn't, and this shocked them, and they retreated. Meanwhile, Athens is desperate for money. Athens is the number of ships that they have to pay for and the soldiers they have to pay for during the sieges is this. It's starting to lead to a situation. They had, as he said here, as we're going to repeat here, although this is in the chapter 19, although they had for the first time raised a tax of 2,000 talents from their own citizens, the Athenians still needed money for the siege. And they sent out 12 ships under the command of Lysias and four others who collect money from our allies. After this, then what happened was, after cruising to different places and laying them under contributions, Lysias went up country from Melos in Korea up to the plains of Meander and as far as the hills of Sandos. And being attacked at Carians, the people of Anasia, was slain with many of his soldiers. He was slain. So therefore, his guy was going to collect money. He went up there, he went up a little higher, and he got into a situation where he got slain. So one of the leaders who was going to collect money was slain. This is now chapter 20, chapter book 3. The same winter, the Plataeans, who were still being besieged by the Peloponnesians and Boeotians, distressed by the failures of their provisions and seeing no hope of relief from Athens, nor any means of safety, formed a scheme with the Athenians besieged with them for escaping, if possible, by forcing their way over the enemy's walls. This attempt was suggested by Thaletus, son of Tomides, a soothsayer, and Upamides, son of Diamachus, one of their generals. At first, all were to join. Afterwards, having hung back, thinking the risk was too great, about 220, however, voluntary persevered in the attempt, which was carried out in the following way. Ladders were made to match the heights of the enemy's walls, which they measured with the layer of bricks, and side turned towards them not, though thoroughly whitewashed. These were counted by many. These were counted by many persons at once, and though some might miss the right calculations, most would hit upon it, particularly when they counted over. They counted over and over again, and were no great way from the wall, but could see it it easily enough for their purposes. The bricks required for the ladder was thus obtained, being calculated from the breadth of the brick. Now, the walls of the Peloponnese were constructed as follows. It consisted of two lines around a place about 16 feet apart, one against the Plataeans, the other is against the attack from the outside from Athens. The intermediate space was occupied by huts, portioned out among the soldiers on guard and built in one block, as to give the appearance of a thick wall with battlements on each side. At the intervals, every 10 battlement were a tower of considerable size, and at the same breadth of the wall, reaching right across from its inner to its outer face, and by no means of passing except through the middle. Accordingly, on stormy and wet nights, the battlements were deserted, and the guards were kept from their towers, which were not far, or kept from the towers, which were not far apart and roofed above. Such was the structure of the wall by which the Peloponnese were blockaded. The Platinians were blockaded. With their preparations were completed, they waited for a stormy night of wind and rain without any moon and set out, guided by the authors of the enterprise, crossing first the ditch and then ran across the city. They reached the wall of their enemy unperceived by the sentinels, who did not see them in darkness or hear them, as the wind drowned its with it noise of their approach. Besides, they kept a good way off from seeing from each other, so they might not betray by the clash of their weapons. They were lightly equipped and had only the left foot shod to preserve them from slipping in the mire. They came up to the battlements at one of the intermediate spaces, which they knew would be unguarded. Those who carried the ladder went first and planted them. Then 12 light armed soldiers with only a dagger and a breastplate mounted, led by Amenius, son of Cleobus, who was the first of the wall, his followers getting up after him and going six to each of the towers. After these came another party of light troops, armed with spears, those whose shield they might advance the easier, were carried by men behind, who were to hand them to them when they found themselves in presence of the enemy. After a good many mounted, they were discovered by the sentinel of the tower, by the noise made by the tile knocked down of one of the Plataeans as he was laying hold of the battlement. The alarm was instantly given, and the troops rushed to the wall, not knowing the nature of the danger, owing to darkness in the stormy night. The Plataeans in the city also chose that moment to make a sortie against the wall of the Peloponnese upon a side opposite to the one the men were getting over, in order to divert their attention to the besiegers. Accordingly, they remained detracted at several points, without any venturing to stir up to give from his own station, and at a loss of what was going on. Meanwhile, the 300 set aside for service on the emergency went outside the wall in the other direction in the direction of the alarm. Fire signals of the attack were also raged towards Thebes, but the Peloponnesians in the city at once displayed a number of others, prepared beforehand for this very purpose, in order to render the enemy's signals unintelligible, and to prevent his friend from getting a true idea of what was happening, coming to his aid before their comrades had have gone out and should have made good their escape and be safety. Meanwhile, the first of the scaling party had gotten up, after carrying both the towers and putting the sentinels to the sword, posted themselves inside to prevent anyone coming through against them, and rearing the ladder from the wall, sent several men up the towers from their summit and kept it in, and all checked of the enemy. They'd come up with their missiles, while their main body planted a number of ladders against the wall, and knocking down the basement, passed over between the towers. Each, as soon as they had gotten over, took up his station at the edge of the ditch, shooting arrows and throwing darts at any who came along the wall to stop the passage of his comrades. When all were over, the party on the towers came down, the last of them not without difficulty, and proceeded to the ditch, as the 300 came up carrying torches. The Plataeans, standing at the edge of the ditch in the dark, had a good view of their opponents, and discharged their arrows and darts upon the unarmed part of their bodies, which they themselves could not be so well seen as the obscurity for the torches, and thus even the last of them got over the ditch, though not even without effort and difficulty. And ice had formed on it, not strong enough to walk upon, but that of the watery kind, which generally comes from with the wind more east than north, and the snow which this wind had caused to fall during night had made the water in the ditch rise, so that they could scarcely breast it as they crossed. However, it was mainly the violence of the storm that enabled them to escape at all. Starting from the ditch, Plataeans went all together along the road to Thebes, keeping the capital of the hero Endocrates upon the right, considering that the last road which the Peloponnesians would suspect them have taken would be that towards the enemy's country. Indeed, they could see them pursuing with torches upon the Athenian road towards Clarion and Drucoskep, Druoskeplia and Oakheads. And after going for more than a half a mile upon the road to Thebes, the petition turned off and looked that leading to the mountains to Euthria and Hessia, and reaching the hills, made good their escape to Athens. 212 men in all, some of their numbers having turned back into the outer ditch. Meanwhile, the Peloponnesians gave up the pursuit and returned to their post, and the Plataean city, knowing nothing what had passed, informed by those who had turned back that not a man had escaped, sent out heralds as soon as it was day to make truce for the recovery of their bodies. Then, having learned the truth, they desisted. In this way, the Plataean party broke out, and were in this way. This is how the Plataeans broke out and were saved. Toward the close of the same winter, Seleucus, a Spartan, was sent out in a trimene from Sparta to Metline. Going by sea to Perea, and from hence overland, he passed along the bed of a torrent, where it lies the circumvallation was penetrable, and thus entered unperceived into Metline. He told the magistrate that the Attica would certainly be invaded, that 40 ships destined to relieve them would arrive, and that he had been sent out to announce this and to superintend matters generally. The Mytileans upon this took courage and laid aside the ideas of negotiating with the Athens. Now this winter ended, and it ended the fourth year in which the Thucydides was the historian. So here we're going to end this on the fourth winter. We'll end this fourth year of the war here. So this is a short exercise. So if you have any comments or questions, please put it below. If you've liked what I've done so far on this or this video, or please like it, comments. If you have criticisms, say it, please. You're going to be hearing the fan because the circulation, so I hope it's not that loud. You can follow me on social media below. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Again, I should have that by the way around. If you want to help and support this project, you can subscribe star. I haven't done Patreon. Tell me do Patreon, but I'm just kind of like I'm a newbie in these things, not that great. So please check it out and recommend to your friends, and have a good day. Bye bye.